Now that we have put our project together, we need to assign resources to perform the tasks. Within MS Project there are three types of resource. First we have work, which is effort. For example, Fred blogs a business analyst and the work that Fred performs to complete a task. Second, we have material. Materials are used to perform a task. For example, I used 10 bags of cement when performing a task to build a wall. And third, there is cost. Cost represents categories of financial costs derived from specific tasks. So for example, a construction project might need to track steel or concrete as it is used throughout the project. Or you may have an inbound deliverable created by a third party who are external to your project, which has an associated cost that you need to track. Now, before we move on, I want us to save our project file under a different name, and I want you to save your file as MS Project Training Part 2, as I will do now. So I'm going to click File, Save As, select my folder, and then I'm going to change this to Part 2 and click Save. Now, I'm now going to select the Resource ribbon, and from the View Selection drop down, I'm going to click and select Resource Sheet. Now, I'm going to enter some resources in here. So in the resource name, I'm going to enter my first resource, Jane Smith. Now Jane's type is work, which is the default. I'll enter Jane's initials. Now Jane is a project manager, so I'm going to use the group column to track our capability skill sets by resource. So Jane is a project manager. Now max is the max units available to this project of the resource. So for example, on a 40-hour week, we are saying Jane is 100% available for all of those 40 hours, and plan accordingly. The standard rate is the rate the resource is charged at. For example, Jane is charged £80 per hour. Overtime rate we're not going to use, but this is the rate that we charge for any work performed outside of normal working hours. Cost of use we won't use either, so this is a cost per use. For a work type resource, this is an additional cost that is applied, which is a one-off cost each time that resource is used within the project. And if it's a material type resource, it's just a one-off cost no matter how many times it is used within the project, but either is an additional cost that is added on top of the standard rate charged to the tasks. Accrued is how the costs are charged to the task. So prorated, which is default, means it is a flat from start to end, and start is lumped up at the start of the task, and end is where the cost is lumped up at the end of the task. Now base is the base calendar that the resource uses. So here we're going to use the standard calendar, and I will advise you not to create multiple calendars because it can become impossible to manage. And the codes column, we're going to use this to refer to the resource cost center. So in here I'm going to use cost center A, B, C. So I will put up a recap of how we've used these columns as I enter the rest of the resource information we're going to use within this project plan. Now go ahead and freeze your video here and enter the resource information in your project plan as I've done here. During the planning workshops, I've been informed by the finance department that the hourly rate for cost centre XYZ resources will increase by 10% as of the 1st of August 2022. How does MS Project deal with scheduled rate changes? Well, let me show you, and I'm going to select one of the resources. So we've got Fred Bloggs and Bill Street who sit within this cost centre XYZ. So let's select Fred. Then on the resource ribbon, select the resource information icon here. Then I'm going to select the costs tab, and now below the current effective rate I'm going to select the row, and I'm going to put an effectivity date of the 1st of August 2022. Then press tab. Then within the standard rate column I'm going to enter 10% and press enter. And what you can see based on the previous standard rate, by entering 10%, MS Project has automatically increased this accordingly to £16.50 per hour, which will be effective as of the 1st of August. Based on this, Project will automatically calculate costs based on these standard rates and their effectivity dates against the project timeline, and adjust how these costs are forecasted and charged respectively. I'm now going to click OK. I will then repeat this for Bill Street also. And just a note here, the reason why they are showing £16.50 as their current rate now is because I'm recording this video later than the 1st of August 2022. So just to demonstrate, if I reopen Fred Bloggs' resource information and click the cost tab again, and amend this to the 1st of December 2023 for example, and click OK, you can now see that Fred's current rate of £15.50 is still active, and when we go past the 1st of December 2023 on the project timeline, it will then switch to the new rate of £16.50. So I'm going to put that back to the 1st of August 2022. Now that we've defined our resources, let's assign them to tasks within our project plan. So, with the resource ribbon still selected, from the view drop down I'm going to select Gantt chart. Then on the resource ribbon again, I'm going to select Assign Resources icon. Now on the Assign Resources dialog box, I'm going to expand the resource list options by clicking the plus sign. Then I'm going to select Filter By. and from the drop down I'm going to select Group, and within the Group dialog box I'm going to type Assembler and then click OK. And you can now see that our resources have been filtered by the assemblers. Now, while we have only 5 resources on our project, projects can have hundreds of resources on them. So this is a really useful set of functionality to be able to filter by different lenses, like capability, for example. And I also believe it is essential that in your planning workshops you discuss your resource strategy and the types of skills you are going to need on your project. Now, let's assign Bill to some tasks that I want him to complete. We are going to assign Bill to task 3, 7, 16, 17 and 19. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to select task 3 like so. Then I'm going to hold down the control key and then select 7, 16, 17 and 19. And then when these tasks are selected, and only these tasks are selected, I'm going to ensure that Bill is selected and click Assign. And there you can see on the right hand side I have now assigned Bill to those tasks. And you can see here on the work column that it has now increased from 142 hours to 186 hours. By assigning Bill, you can also see that these tasks are now calculating the effort based on Bill being assigned to them. I'm going to repeat this for Fred blogs and assign Fred to task 10, 13, 22, 23, 25 and 27. And remember to deselect the task you assign Bill to first before you assign Fred. And now, when you've done this, your hours should read 194 hours in total on Build a New Computer. Now, I want to assign resources to electronic assembly type tasks. So what I'm going to do is make sure that these are no longer selected here by deselecting those tasks, and then within the resource dialog box I'm going to select Group again. This time I'm going to type Technician and click OK. I'm now going to assign Gary to his tasks. So that is task 4, 5, 6 and 18. So again I'm going to select the first task, number 4, then hold down the control key and select 5, 6 and 18. And then ensure that Gary is selected and click Assign. I'm going to do the same for Mary and assign Mary to task 11, 12 and 24. So again I'm going to click off Gary's tasks, so these are no longer selected, and then I'm going to assign Mary to her tasks. Now once you've completed assigning Mary, on Build a New Computer, work should be 258 hours and duration should be 17.45 days. I'm going to close Assign Resource dialog box, and over here I can see all my resources that are assigned. And if you can't see the whole of the view, you can right click here on the top of the Gantt chart and then click Zoom, and then select entire project and click OK, and you can now see the whole of the Gantt chart within your view. Or you can also click the view ribbon and select the entire project icon, which will do the same thing. Now I need to assign my project manager to the project. However, Jane is not directly responsible for any of the tasks, and she also oversees multiple projects with 20% allocation, i.e. 1 day a week to these projects, and also to this project. Now, some people tackle this by adding a project task to the project and assigning the project manager resource to that task. They then manually maintain the duration of that task in line with the project, and each time that timeline slips or changes, they manually maintain that task. Now, I don't think this is the most efficient method within MS Project to do this. So what we're going to do is, on the build a new computer, I'm going to expand here so I can see the resource column. And then from the drop down I'm going to select Jane Smith. Then at the end of Jane Smith's name, so I'm going to select the formula bar here and just click at the end of Jane's name like so. Then I'm going to enter open square bracket 20% and close square bracket, and then I'm going to hit return. You'll see within the resource names column there is a green icon in the corner here. This is displayed because we've changed Jane's allocation, and project needs you to tell it how to deal with this change. Do you want to A, change the duration, keep the amount of work the same, or do you want to B, change the amount of work and keep the duration the same? Now, because this is a summary task, we know we want Jane to have 20% allocation for the project's life cycle, but Jane's allocation does not impact the overall duration. So we choose option B, which is the default in this case, and keep the duration the same. We are assigning our project manager to that level 1 task, which is the project parent task, which adjusts its duration based on the child tasks within our project automatically. So project in effect will automatically adjust Jane's allocation accordingly with no manual effort required, i.e. MS Project does the work for us throughout our project life cycle. We have now come to the end of this training video.